Saving America one entrepreneur at a time, it's the Biz Rap Podcast with your host, Michael Manahan. The show that celebrates small business and entrepreneurs, it's Biz Rap Radio with your host, small businessman, educator, and author, Michael Manahan. And welcome to another edition of Biz Rap Radio. I'm your host, Michael Manahan. Thank you so much for joining me today, and welcome to the show. And we got a great show lined up for you today. Of course, Biz Rap Radio, we're the show all about entrepreneurs and small business. We're out there trying to help you make more money. Are you a business person? Are you thinking of being a business person? Are you an entrepreneur? Are you trying to raise money? Look, we need everybody in this country running businesses and being entrepreneurs. Let's face it, small businesses, most of us work for small businesses. Small businesses create most of the jobs. And I'm here to help you have more fun and make more money in your small business. And let's face it, that's what it's all about. It's the idea is you make a profit, you employ people, you take care of your family, you take care of yourself, you take care of your friends and neighbors, and if you got a little left over, then you can take care of other people. That's what we do here at Biz Rap Radio. Today, we have a guest on the show, and I'm very happy to have this gentleman with us. It is Mr. Jim Birch. He is the CEO of Kudos Media. Jim, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Jim, Kudos Media. What is Kudos Media? Tell me all about it.
Well, basically we're revolutionizing video distribution in terms of advertising in the U.S., and that alone is a $200 billion a year industry. And just to give you an example, we now have the ability to deliver ads, TV ads, video ads, based on the actual viewer. An example I always give is if you have a 12-year-old who's home alone watching Monday Night Football, we can take out the beer and the Viagra ads and put in ones that are appropriate for him. So we can put in Pepsi and Xbox. So what will happen now is the ads will start to be targeted based on the actual viewer, which really transforms a lot of things.
Now, hang on. You can do this on the television?
That's right. That's what our technology covers. We actually have one patent that's issued. But it's not only that we can target individuals, but we can also start to do something revolutionary, and that's we can start to do cross-platform advertising. So, for example, we just delivered an Xbox ad to that 12-year-old boy. Well, we could follow up with a text to that boy with a link to try the new Xbox game. And so now you can have campaigns around individuals that we can start to deliver and track and help our clients to monetize.
That is just absolutely amazing. Now, what if somebody wants to? Let's look at me as an individual. I could use this technology to say, hey, you know what? I don't want any ads for, I don't know, condoms coming into my house.
Yep.
And
that's right. So this is an opt-in program, and we actually give parents or household members to define what ads are appropriate and which ones aren't appropriate. So like you said, if you don't want to see the condom ads or the rated R trailers, whatever it is, we can then preempt those ads and put in ones that are appropriate for your profile.
Now, do you have to, in order to do something like this, do you have to work with, get like the cable companies? Do you need to get their permission? I mean, most of us, I think, get our television signal from either the cable company or we get it from one of the satellite companies.
That's right.
Do you have to work with them in order to make this happen?
Yeah, so our model is cooperative, meaning that we just aren't out there, in the wild, wild west replacing ads without any kind of consideration. No, so we participate with cable companies, with the satellite companies, with the broadcast companies, and even with advertisers to ensure that, we have the ability to make these changes. We're also working with legislatures to make this a reality. I mean, there are a couple of states that recently passed or legalized marijuana. And so, in theory, they could start advertising marijuana in Colorado and Washington and other states. we have the only platform that can allow parents to say, I don't want that in my house. I don't want my kids exposed to it. We're the only ones that can do that. So our goal is that we can help move that legislation along. And then, again, that just opens up more capabilities. The reason the cable companies and the other people want to participate with this is we actually help them grow the revenues. We help them actually grow the pot, if you will. Probably bad fun. But actually grow the revenues that they can generate from that time slot that's available.
Speaking of growing pot, and I'll just tell a side story. I had an entrepreneur call me one day, and he's got some business he's trying to raise a little bit of money for, and it sounded pretty good, and I thought I might be able to get him the money, with a hard money loan. And I said, do you have any collateral to put up for the loan? And he said, yeah. He said, I've got about an acre of land up just outside Los Angeles, up in the Santa Monica Mountains, and I've got a marijuana crop there. And when that crop comes in, it's going to be worth about $90,000. Can I put that up as security? I wasn't sure that I wasn't sure of the legalities of that, so I said, I think we'll pass on the marijuana crop. But, Jim, we're talking about television advertising, and, my target audience here is small businesses, primarily entrepreneurs. Can small businesses get in on television advertising? I always think of this as being something, you hear the ads on a Super Bowl cost $1 million a second or something like that. Can the average small business, can they actually participate in television advertising?
Oh, yeah. In fact, this is going to transform. It's actually going to enable people who couldn't afford to advertise to be able to advertise. Right now, if you buy a 30-second time slot, you're buying the entire audience. It doesn't matter if it's a 68-year-old man or a 13-year-old kid. You're buying the whole spot. We're going to give people the ability to go in and just buy who they want. If they want men, 18 to 21 with a certain income, a certain education, they can just now buy a subset of the market, which becomes much, much more cost effective for them.
Gotcha.
And they can even now limit the radius. If you've got a business and you want to limit the radius to within a mile of your place, or 2 miles, or 5 miles, you can even go in and do that as well. So you'll not only be able to target in on your audience, but even tie that into a geographical distance. And the nice thing about our platform is it's cross-platform. We work across cable, satellite, everybody. So you don't have to go buy a spot on cable or on satellite or on streamed content. You can come to us and we can work that out and make sure that you get the right audience. So yeah, it's going to open this up big time for small businesses.
Yeah, and that's so important, because one of the problems with advertising in general is how do you target more effectively the people that you want as customers? And it doesn't matter whether you're talking about radio ads, television ads, a billboard, a magazine ad. There's going to be a lot of people who see that particular ad who are never going to be customers of yours, because your product or service is just not appropriate for those people. So anything we can do as business people to make our advertising more targeted should, in theory, give us better returns off of that advertising.
Oh, that's right. And one of the things that we even bring to the table is the ability to track post-viewing activity. So it's not only that we can go out and say, hey, listen, we delivered your specific spot to, say, 10,000 households, but now we can start to track and see what those 10,000 or those 1,000 households did. Did they call? Did they come to your store? Was there something that happened? And now you can start to track. Okay, 20% of those viewers came to my store. So now you can start to quantify. I'm spending X. What am I getting on the backside? What is my ROI? So we're going to be enabling that as well. That's another service that we provide.
Now, Jim, is it says I'm reading some information here. It says that your company is right now early stage. So is this something that it's ready to go now, or when are we looking at this actually going to be available?
Well, we have our first phase of our business that's done. I can talk more about that in a second. But we're going into trials. I mean, I mentioned our patent is already issued. We've filed a couple more continuations. We'll be going into trials within the next 9 months.
Okay, so this is right here on the horizon. We'll probably see this thing launched, say, within the next year or so. Jim, we're coming up on a commercial break. We got about 30 seconds left here. So just very quickly, if somebody's interested in getting hold of you, how could they get a hold of you?
My email address is just jim.birch, that's B-I-R-C-H, at kudos, that's K-U-D-O-Z, .media, M-E-D-I-A.
Okay.
That's it. Just shoot me an email. It's probably the best way, and then I can respond. We're obviously busy during this period, but we've got a lot of things going on.
Okay. We'll be back with Jim Birch, Kudos Media, right after these messages. And welcome back to BizRap Radio. It's your host, Michael Manahan. We are the show all about small business and entrepreneurs. And we have on the line with us Jim Birch. He is the CEO of Kudos Media. Jim's company has developed a unique method of delivering targeted advertising. And Jim, for those of us, or those people who are just joining us, give us the quick rundown again as to what your technology does.
Yeah, basically our technology allows us to deliver TV advertising or video advertising based on the actual viewer, and it's done completely passive, so people don't have to sign in or anything. You could be home watching TV, and the example I always give is if it's an underage kid, a 12-year-old watching Monday Night Football, we can take all the beer and the Viagra ads out and put in Pepsi and Xbox or McDonald's or something that's really targeted to the individual, and it's completely passive.
Well, I mean, this sounds like a fabulous idea, but I want to talk to you a little bit about the development side of your business, because you really are an entrepreneur. You came up with this idea, and you've put it together, and so take us back a little bit. How did you come up with the idea in the first place?
Yeah, we're going to have to go back a few years, and really it was around the year 2000. When I started, this is when all the internet companies were coming out selling dog food or, whatever it was. And the whole concept was, it was all ad-based. And the more eyeballs you got, the better your valuation. And that's when I began to realize is that, it's just not advertising, but it's reaching the right people at the right time. I worked at a research center, formerly was the RCA Research Center. So this is where literally color television was invented in the 60s, and they were one of the 7 companies that put together the digital TV standard we use today, and just saw how inefficient TV advertising was. Started working with Saatchi & Saatchi and Publicis and a number of agencies, and then developed a platform that would allow us to deliver ads to the individual. It would work across all different carriers, so I don't need to integrate with cable, I don't need to integrate with DirecTV. This is one that's completely seamless, and just made it so we're independent. I saw companies that relied upon bigger companies to participate, and it caused all kinds of problems. So we wanted to be in control, developed this initial prototype, filed several patents, which are now just starting to issue, which is very exciting. So we've got a very good hold on this space.
Now, when you say you filed patents, are you the actual person? Because this must be some kind of software that manages all of this process?
Yeah, it's a little of both. If you look at our patent, it covers 2 aspects. One is that it allows us to passively target the individual. So we have 2 electronic devices, and the ads for the first electronic device are based on the proximity of the second. So when you walk into your living room to watch your big screen TV, but you have your iPhone in your pocket, we say, aha, Mike just walked into the room, because we can detect your iPhone, and so your TV ads change accordingly. So that's the one part of our patent. And the other part covers the ability to do what we call cross-platform advertising. So now we can take things that happen like in social media, Facebook or LinkedIn. You may do a post that, hey, I'm expecting twins. And we can use that information then to change what TV ads you see. So instead of seeing the convertible ad, you're going to start to see the minivan ads.
Gotcha. So now, when you say you filed these patents, are you the technology guy, or did you have kind of the concept and you brought in other people who helped put the technology together for you?
A little of both. The patents are my name. I'm the sole owner. Like I said, we've already had one that's issued. We've got a continuation that's filed. I've been around patents a long time, both at Sarnoff, which is basically an IP house, a research center. And then for 10 years, I was a patent broker. So I helped companies like Intel and Intellectual Ventures and Microsoft buy more than $200 million worth of patents. And so, I would go out and I'd help find interesting portfolios and help negotiate the acquisition. So I've been around that for quite a while.
Gotcha. Now, as an entrepreneur and somebody who's basically launching a new business, I mean, this always takes capital. And I'm presuming you've been out there trying to raise capital, or maybe you have raised capital. Can you tell us a little bit about how capital has played a role in the development of your company?
Sure. Well, of course, we bootstrapped, and I put in some investment. We put in our own money into this venture. We've also raised around about $140,000 in friends and family. We are doing a small bridge right now, but we are talking to larger investors, VCs in particular, out of New York. One in particular, which is funded by, in part by Nielsen, which I think would be a great strategic customer for us, because along the way of delivering the targeted ads, we generate some very accurate and very useful market data that we can sell to them. So there's a lot of things in play right now. But we are doing a small round, just bridge until we close on the larger VC round.
Gotcha. And once again, Jim, maybe give out your contact. If somebody's interested in getting a hold of you, how can somebody contact you?
Yeah, the best way is to do it via email. It's jim.birch, that's jim.birch, at Kudos Media, and that's KUDOZ.MEDIA.
Okay, that's jim.birch at kudos.media.com, or?
No, .com. It's just .media.
Okay.
It's one of the new domains. Yeah.
Gotcha. Kudos.media. Right. That's right. They've got all these new endings on emails now, and it all makes it very confusing. But I guess it's just a way for somebody to make more money. Anyway, now, so you've been talking to some of these VCs. How have you found that process? Did you call them? Just cold call them? Did you get introduced by somebody you know? How did you get into that VC world?
Obviously, I belong to a number of networks, and I know a lot of people. So that's one way, and that's probably the best way to get introduced is a warm introduction. And it's not just a warm introduction, but it's using the right person. So with this group out of New York, which I believe is ultimately going to potentially fund us here in the near term, the introduction was made by a very senior leader here in Utah, technology leader. I mean, he founded Fusion.io, which was bought by SanDisk here recently, and had several very successful exits. And he was the one that made the introduction for us when he heard about the technology and what we were doing. So that obviously got the attention of the partners at this firm and kind of fast-tracked us.
Yeah, and that is so important, and a lesson to all of you entrepreneurs out there listening. You've got to build your networks, and some people just have been around a while, they've been in business a while, their networks tend to be bigger. But if you're the type who doesn't have a wide network, you need to start building that, and that's why I'm a big fan of attending if you're an entrepreneur, attending events and shows. That's a great way to build your network, whether it's a trade show, whether it's a financial convention. Wander around, get people's business cards, start to make connections. Join the associations in your local community. Often there's networking associations, there's Chamber of Commerce, there's all sorts of industry associations. I know I teach accounting at Cal State Dominguez Hills, and I suspect I'm probably a member of about 7 different accounting associations. There's all of these groups out there, and if you start to build the connections with people, then when you're ready to launch your own business, you can start picking up the phone and talking to your connections. Much easier to get in the door than going to the internet, typing in venture capital firms and starting to cold call them, or submitting your proposal on the internet. You can do that, but of course it's much better to have what Jim here calls a warm introduction. Much more likely you're going to get in the door and actually get your business looked at. So that's great. Now, Jim, you also are a speaker and an author, and you have an article about investing in startups. What's that all about?
Well, I was a stockbroker earlier on, and learned a lot, obviously, about the financial industry. But one of the things I've realized is that a lot of people don't consider startups as an investment option. I mean, obviously there's the stock market, there's the bond market, CDs, and real estate, but a lot of people don't realize that they can actually participate in startups. Now, granted, it's high risk, but the returns are the return potentials are much higher. I mean, if you were an early investor in Google or Facebook or any one of these companies, you can certainly attest to that. So we actually had a seminar here where we talked about the 5 reasons why you should consider a startup as an investment. And I'm not saying you put 100% of your portfolio in, but you may take a look at putting 5% and spreading it across a couple of startups because the return potential is so much higher. People are projecting that we're going to see a 20 to 30% correction in the stock market. So why not take 5% of that now and put it into something that can really appreciate? If you have one of these startups that gave you a 10 or a 20x return, that's like the Dow hitting 174,000 or, waiting a couple hundred years at today's interest rates. So it's just something for people to consider. You can even use a retirement account. You can take part of your 401k and apply that towards a startup. So we have this conversation as a way to help people understand that they have more options. They don't have to go into the stock market, which is already topped out, or other instruments where when interest rates start to go up, they're going to get hit.
Okay, well, that's really great. We're coming up on another commercial break. Jim, can you stick with me for another segment?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Sure can.
It is BizRap Radio, your host, Michael Manahan, and we will be back right after these messages. Stick with us. And welcome back to BizRap Radio. It's your host, Michael Manahan, and we, of course, are the show all about small business and entrepreneurs. And speaking of entrepreneurs, if you're just joining us, we have on the line with us an entrepreneur himself. It is Jim Birch. He's the CEO of Kudos Media. And Jim, for those folks just joining us, give us the quick rundown again on what Kudos Media is all about.
Yeah, so we're basically transforming a $200 billion industry because we have the ability to deliver TV advertising or video advertising based on the actual viewer. So we can, I hate to use this example again, but it's very clear. If you have a 12-year-old who's watching Monday Night Football, we can take the beer and the Viagra ads out and put in ones targeted for him. That could be Xbox, it could be Pepsi, it could be McDonald's. But it's actually more than that. I mean, we can do Spanish ads on English channels. We can do female ads during football games, which they're not doing right now. So we can do a number of things which will transform this industry.
And it does sound transformational, and we talked a little bit about the fact that this is also going to open up, because it's very selective target marketing, it's going to open up TV opportunities for small businesses that historically may not have had been able to make sense out of widespread television advertising. So this could be great for small businesses advertising locally in their communities. But Jim, we left off the last segment talking about investing in startups and the fact that you actually wrote an article about this and you put on seminars about investing in startups. And that's something that's really dear to my heart. I've talked about this on the show previously, but I've had a lot of experience in the public markets. You were a stockbroker. I've spent the last 25 years either as a chief financial officer, chief executive officer, or raising capital for publicly traded companies. And it seems to me that our government has done just about everything it can over the last 25 years to put a stranglehold on that early stage capital that comes into young companies, and it's made it more increasingly difficult for small companies to raise capital. But I'm hoping that's changing. We got some new rules with the Jobs Act. We got some new rules on private placements. We got the crowdfunding coming along. So I'm really excited about this. And what are your thoughts about? I know you're saying that this really will give everybody an opportunity to really invest in at the ground floor in these new companies.
Yeah, it definitely will. And again, my company is included in this boat, but early stage companies are notorious. I mean, there's high risk. So people just have to understand that and make sure that they don't put 100% of their life savings into startups. But if you take a balanced approach and you diversify, it's a great opportunity. People always tell me that startups are super high risky, and I kind of remind them about WorldCom or Enron or Madoff, right? Those are blue chip companies and organizations, but people lost a lot of money. So if you're willing to, if you're going to expose yourself to risk, the key is to maximize the return potential.
Exactly. And speaking of risk, I always get a kick out of these conversations as well. I've got a book, I think it was, that comes out every year. It's the 100 Best Companies in America or something, and I've got the edition. I think it's from 1984. And I think half of the companies in that book no longer exist, and at least the other 30% have been involved in major, huge scandals, and frauds and all of this matter of stuff. Meanwhile, talking about risk, the government, is all out to protect the investor, to make sure the investor doesn't invest in a business that's too risky. But the government's more than happy to facilitate people on social assistance and people on fixed income spending as much of their money as they possibly can on lottery tickets. I don't get it. I've got friends who would not put money into a startup company but will go to Vegas on the weekend and drop $5,000 at the craps table. Now, how stupid is that?
I know. I mean, at least you have a slight chance for a return, right? I mean, a much better chance than just going to Vegas, where you're going to lose money. The question is just how much.
Yeah, exactly. So that's really interesting. Jim, we're coming to the end of our discussion here today. Is there anything else you want to say while we've got you on the line here?
No, but I really appreciate the time and the opportunity to share a little bit about what we're doing, at least on the vision side, as well as these topics are obviously near and dear to my heart because I'm right in the middle of them. So these are very relevant issues. So thank you for your time and giving me the opportunity.
Well, not a problem. And I'd love to have you back on in maybe 6 months or something like that, so we can kind of track the progress. Because we've got an entrepreneurial story in the making. We've got what I would call a disruptive technology in play. That's where a technology comes in and really can, in a major way, change the way something works in a market. This idea that you can go in and replace the television commercials with targeted television commercials, very exciting. I think it's got huge potential for small business people, and obviously I think a huge potential for making money if somebody was interested in getting in early stage with a young entrepreneurial company. So I'd really like to check back in maybe 6 months, see how you're progressing, and maybe you'll have some additional stories and insights you can give the entrepreneurs who are listening to us about what they should be careful of, about what they should do or shouldn't do as they try and roll out their ideas and concepts.
Oh, definitely. I'd love to be back on.
Okay, wonderful. So it's jim.birch at kudos.media. And if you want to contact Jim, send him an email. And Jim, I thank you so much. I really appreciate you joining us today.
All right. Thank you, Mike.
Okay, you take care. And there you have it, Jim Birch of Kudos Media. And, I just love to hear these entrepreneurial stories. And what an idea, transformational idea. It really is heartwarming to see that the entrepreneurs in America creating new businesses and new ideas. So, and if you're interested, contact Jim Birch, and you could be an investor in this early stage disruptive technology. And I'm not going to make wild claims. We never know if these things are going to be successful or not. You need to do your due diligence, but it sounds like a great idea. And why isn't it that we can't get in on the ground floor? The venture capitalists do. The venture capitalists are making tons of money on these early stage investments. They made millions on Google. They made millions on on Microsoft. They've made millions on Facebook. Forget about millions. They've made billions of dollars, and there's no reason why individuals with modest means cannot also participate in some of these early stage ventures. The government is making it a little bit easier with the Jobs Act. We got crowdfunding coming just around the corner. It's still not quite in place yet, but we expect it very soon. The rules have been eased up on private placements to make it a little easier for a company to raise money on a private placement. So that might just be an idea. Why not put a little bit of your portfolio into some early stage ventures? You'll create jobs, help the economy, and maybe make some money off of it. It's BizRap Radio, your host Michael Manahan, and we are going to be back with more right after these messages. Stick with us. And welcome back to BizRap Radio. Very interesting discussion there with Jim Birch, CEO of Kudos Media. And just imagine the change it's going to make when the commercials that play on television, when you're watching your show at home on television, you may not be seeing the same commercial that other people are seeing in their homes, depending upon your preference in terms of commercials and the demographics of your household and what you may be interested in and what you may not be interested in. Now, of course, a lot of that happens right now on the internet. You may have noticed that if you're visiting certain websites, that ads will come up. And those ads will be based upon searches you have done on the internet. So, for instance, you go into Google, and I've done this recently. I was wanting to go on a ski trip, so I was Googling places up at various ski resorts, and all of a sudden I noticed that when I was going on various websites, the ads that were playing were coming back to me. They were advertising various ski resorts around the country, not just around the country, even globally. And it was amazing. I have no idea how they do it, but obviously they do it. It's targeted media. And some people might look at that and say, well, gosh, Mike, isn't that kind of an intrusion? They're tracking what you're doing when you're on the internet, and then they're feeding back to you ads that might be specifically in the area in which you have an interest. I guess that's true, but, look, if you're going to go on a website and you're going to be barraged with ads, would you rather have ads for products that you might have an interest in, or would you rather have ads for products in which you have absolutely no interest? I mean, the fact is we live in a society where we are inundated by advertising, billboards as we're driving down the freeway, signs on the sides of vehicles and trucks, television ads, radio ads, internet ads. We're absolutely being bombarded. The fact is most of the ads we see are ones we have absolutely no interest in, none whatsoever. But you also don't want to miss out. If there's a new product that's coming out and it's a product I might have an interest in, I want to know about it. How else am I going to learn about these things? And how else are you going to get your product to your customers? And speaking of customers, I've come across a book that really, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're running a small business or you're thinking about starting a small business, this book is just an absolute gem. It is by a gentleman the name of Bill Olet, and the book is called Disciplined Entrepreneurship, 24 Steps to a Successful Startup. Again, the author is Bill Aulet, A-U-L-E-T, Disciplined Entrepreneurship, 24 Steps to a Successful Startup. And Bill is associated with the MIT Entrepreneurial Institute. Of course, MIT is known for its association with entrepreneurs and the launch of many entrepreneurial ventures by the students who attend MIT. But what's interesting about this book, and of course I've read lots of books about startups and about business, the book really has a focus on something that a lot of new businesses, young businesses, and small businesses just seem to ignore, and that is the subject of the customer. So many times I've seen business plans over the year where somebody comes to me, Mike, I'm looking to raise some money. I got my business plan laid down here. And I look at the business plan, and the majority of the business plan talks about the product. It talks about product specifications, perhaps how it was developed, what the product can be used for. And all of that is important information. But the real key thing when you're in business, when you're running a business, whether you're a startup, you're just getting started, or whether you're running a business for a while and you're trying to keep abreast of market changes, you're trying to keep abreast of the competition. What do you really need to focus on? Well, yes, your product is important, but what you really need to focus on is your customer. And that is why I like this book by Bill Olet. He has these 24 steps, and he breaks them down into kind of 6 bold categories. The first category is who is your customer, and there he talks about such things as market segmentation, building an end-user profile, kind of developing the persona, if you will, of the person who is a user of your product. And then he talks about, well, what can you do for your customer? What is your value proposition for your customer? How do you compare to your competitors? What is the life cycle for your product in terms of a customer's usefulness to that customer? Then he talks about how does your customer acquire your product? How do you get that product from your store, your business, to your customer? Then he goes on to talk about how do you make money off of your product? What is your business model? How do you price your product? How do you calculate such things as the lifetime value of a customer? What is the cost of acquiring a customer? And then he talks about how do you design and build your product? What are your key product assumptions? How do you test those assumptions? It's how do you ensure that the product is built and delivered the way it should be? And then finally he talks about how do you scale your business? How do you take your business from serving one customer to serving many customers? What is your product plan? What is your size for growth? And of course, these are not individual steps. I mean, the process has to be iterative. You may go back and forth with one of these things, but really his 24 steps, which he breaks down into these 6 themes, are all customer focused. And I'm going to talk more about this book. I think we're going to maybe go through some of the chapters, and I'll highlight some of the information that this book presents because I just think it's so absolutely valuable. But if you're an entrepreneur, if you're running a small business, if you're planning on starting a business, or maybe you're thinking, how can I be a little more competitive with my small business? How can I do a better job of making money off of my business and building my customer base? I think this is a good place to start. It's disciplined entrepreneurship. 24 steps to a successful startup. Bill Olet, he is associated with the MIT Entrepreneurial Institute, and of course MIT has launched many successful entrepreneurial businesses by its graduates. And while I wouldn't say the only thing you need to focus on is customers, I think that too many business plans I see, too many entrepreneurs I talk to, forget the customer in their equation. The customer drives everything. You've got to be customer focused. You've got to understand your customer. You've got to be able to put yourself in the customer's mind and understand how a customer looks at you as a business, and why is the customer buying from you? What is your value proposition? What do you offer the customer he can't get anywhere else? Why are those customers walking through your door? Or if you haven't launched your business yet, why will those customers walk through your door? And if you get some of that wrong, you can really struggle in your business. So you want to spend some time and focus on it. And again, it's Disciplined Entrepreneurship, the 24 Steps to a Successful Startup. Bill Ouellette is the author, Aulet. You can, of course, I'm sure you can get this off of Amazon.com. I'd highly recommend you go out there and buy the book. I've enjoyed reading it. I myself have learned a lot from reading the book, and the whole focus is bringing it back to the customer. What do you deliver to the customer? How do you deliver it? How do you price it? Great stuff. And again, I'm really going to take an opportunity to go through this book and maybe pick out some gems, some pieces. We'll go over them in a little more detail in future shows. Well, that's it. We're coming to the end of this show. It's just really been a very exciting show, talking to Jim Birch earlier, CEO of Kudos Media, changing the way we look at commercials. Really amazing stuff. Well, here at BizRap Radio, we believe we can fix the United States of America through a fundamental concept that individuals pursuing their own economic interests in free markets will create more prosperity for more people than can ever be achieved through government regulation and a planned economy. It's BizRap Radio, fixing America through individual economic freedom. Don't forget, check out our website, bizrapradio.com. You can listen to all of our previous shows there. Check out our articles. Look at our past guests. Use our suggestion box. Sign up for our newsletter. I am your host, Michael Manahan. Thank you so much for joining us on this edition of BizRap Radio. We'll be back again next week.